All right, let's take a look at some things with GetResponse here. This is what it looks like on the dashboard when you first log into GetResponse. And, you know, if you've never done anything like this before, and you're just new to the whole online thing, you know, all these buttons and things, it just seems like a lot of stuff, doesn't it? Well, it's actually fairly simple. It's really just a question of knowing where to find what. That's most of the battle. So what they try to do is they try to make it simple here at the top with these icons, so that you know exactly where you're going here. But there's also a menu over here. If you hover your mouse over this little avatar here, you see it opens up a little menu there, right? And some of these are going to be significant. For example, the integrations. Okay. So when I click into the integrations, over here there's something that's called API. And you may have to, the writing's kind of small on this page. I'll make it a little bigger, but you may have to make the video here full screen to see this. If you're watching this on a phone, this might be kind of tough to see. But there's a little tab there that says API. If I click that, it says GetResponse API key. You need to generate one. Okay. So it's real simple. You just click the Generate API. Okay. And then they're going to ask you to name it. So I'm just going to name this PLS landing pages. And PLS for Powered Lead System, if you were going to use this, say, to collect leads using a Powered Lead System lead capture page, this is just for you to know what this API is for. Okay. So invalid characters. You can enter spaces, lowercase letters. Okay, good. So it has to be all lowercase. PLS landing pages. Okay. So now here's our API key. All right. Now, what is that API key for? The API key is basically the communication link between your Powered Lead System pages or any website that integrates via an API with GetResponse. Of course, we've got a shared sales funnel set up. If I go to websites and my web pages inside Powered Lead System, and I find the lead capture page here, which is LCP, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of this. You need to make a copy of any page within Powered Lead System before you can edit it. You need to make a copy of any page within Powered Lead System before you can edit it. In other words, you cannot make any changes to the appearance or functionality of the page unless you've made a copy. Because when I share these pages with you using the sharing code, what's being shared with you is exactly what I've built. And there's no way to change that. Now, if we look at this page, let's just look at the page so you know what I'm talking about. Here's a lead capture page, name, email, phone. If you just take this page as it is and use it, and you send traffic to it, when they opt in, meaning when they put their info in here, what's going to happen is it's going to add that person, their contact info, to the Powered Lead System Contact Manager. And then there's an email campaign in here that's set up that'll go out to them. The problem is this email system in here is not very good. Does it send email? Yes, but the email server for Powered Lead System has been used by so many thousands, probably tens of thousands of online affiliates, and a lot of the times they're just using the default email campaigns they have. And when you send out enough email from the same server all over the world, all the local internet providers start flagging these things as spam. And what that means is it's very much harder to get emails delivered to the inbox instead of the spam box if they're being sent from Powered Lead System. It doesn't mean they don't send. They do send. But I want you to have the best email delivery possible. I want you to get to people's inbox, not their spam box. And this is the entire reason why we recommend GetResponse. Okay. But now in order to integrate GetResponse, we have to make a copy of the page. And it's real simple. You just find the page and you click copy. Now, it takes a minute to process. But once it processes, it opens this editor. And you see here it tells you copy of. You can change this to whatever you want just so you know what the page is. Okay. And I'm just going to create a sample 010918 just so we have a subdomain for this. This is a stupid subdomain, obviously. This would be the web address, right? But I'm just doing it for example purposes. You would name this whatever you want to name it, easy, IXQ, whatever. This is the link that if you're ordering clicks or traffic or sending people to opt in to a page that looks like this, it's whatever this address is going to be. It's just this part of the address here. So in step 3 is where it gets significant, because here it says add opt-in lead to Power Lead System Contact Manager. Well, no, we don't want to do that. Okay, we want to add it to GetResponse. And you see when I click GetResponse that this check mark disappears. I can put it back and I can do both. I could add it to my GetResponse and to the Power Lead System Contact Manager. If you want to do that, go ahead. I don't really see a reason to do that. Okay. So if I'm not adding it to my Power Lead System Contact Manager and I'm not sending a Power Lead System autoresponder, then this is completely irrelevant. This doesn't matter what you select because we're not sending it to the Power Lead System autoresponder. Autoresponder just automatically responds to the person who requested the info via email. Now you see here, add opt-in lead to GetResponse. Now, what does it say here? Set this up on the next page. Okay, so watch. You're going to go down here, click Save, and what do we see? Okay. Copy the authorization code text from the text box there to the text below. So you click here. Now if I just open this, you'll see what happens. It just takes me to the same page, right? It's the same page I just showed you. I only have one API key. And so you'll want to be logged into your GetResponse before you click that. Let me get some of these pages out of here. But it tells you exactly what to do here. Okay, all you got to do is just click this link. It'll open your GetResponse. And you just click the copy thing, API key copied. You come back here, you paste it in, and then access my GetResponse account. So it takes a minute. It's establishing a communication between your GetResponse. Okay, and here it's taken us back, and now there's a campaign name here. And one of my teammates here is letting me use his GetResponse, brand new GetResponse account, so I can demo this for you. There's only one campaign in his GetResponse at the moment. Okay. A campaign is like separate lists. Like this list emails people about XYZ, and this list emails people about something different. You can have as many as you want. You can have one list that's all just webinar invites. If they subscribe to get updates on webinar invites, that's the emails that they will get. In this case, this GetResponse account only has one campaign, one email list. And that's how most of you are going to be when you're just starting out with GetResponse. Okay. Now, but you'll notice when this page came back up, what happened? Well, it kind of defaulted back here to this. I got to, again, check this box. So just pay attention. Like, read what it says. add opt-in lead to GetResponse. You'll notice I had this checked before, but when it saved the API key and it came back up, it defaulted back to the way it was. So I got to fix that. Okay. Now when I save this, okay, and I don't need to change anything else on this site. I'm just clicking save all the way through, view my page. You see now it comes up with the sample. It's the same page, it's just a copy. The difference now is when we opt in here, it's going to add this new contact to our GetResponse account. You see? So that's what the API key is for. The API key is needed for, get some of this stuff out of here. It's needed for your Power Lead System page here to communicate with your GetResponse account. Make sense? So that's probably like one of the first things you would do in your GetResponse account is create an API key. Okay, now you don't have to go necessarily right away and connect it to your, to your Power Lead System pages. You may not even have a Power Lead System page. If you're not connecting GetResponse to Power Lead System pages or to some other system via an API, then you don't need to worry about this API step. Okay, but I'm just assuming I'm doing this for our teammates who are going to be doing this. So now you'll see a copy, right? And of course, any page you want to edit, you have to make a copy of. And when you share these pages, you'll see them down here in this section. It looks different in mine because I'm the one who made the page. But you'll have to make a copy of it anyway. And you'll do that down here. Okay, it's real simple. You just find the page and click copy. But let's get back to GetResponse. If we go back to the dashboard of GetResponse here, what have we done? Well, we just went here. We created an API. Okay. Now, I'm going to pause this for a second because I got to open a page. I don't want to expose. I guess it doesn't matter. It's just an email. I can blur it out if I have to. I believe under Manage Account, we have account details, which, well, that'll be the default that opens. And then the third one down is email addresses. Now, here, our friend Gerald here, he's got a Gmail address, which is understandable because that's probably his email address that he uses. But this email address here, this is the sending email address. This is the email address that your automated emails or email broadcasts sent from GetResponse are going to be sent from. And so you don't want to use a Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail, anything like that. And that's what this warning is. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to create an email on a domain that you own. So, like, for example, I have alancousins.com. So I have various emails at alancousins.com. You have a domain that is associated with your Power Lead System account. If you have a Power Lead System account, okay, and you add your domain here, you go through this process, right? And I believe, let me see if I can. They've moved things around a little bit since I've did this long ago. Okay, so in your Power Lead System account, once you have your domain set up here, and guys, you can do this, lots of different ways. Like if you just go to namecheap.com, Namecheap, right? If you don't have a Power Lead System account and you just buy a domain name, they will give you an email address to use with that domain name. You can do that whether you even have a website or not. I'll let Namecheap help you with that. I mean, you can literally just call them. But if you have a Power Lead System account, you need to have a domain set up here anyway, a domain name. You see, that's like the first thing you do. And once you've set that up, if you go to email, over here, look, email forwarding, okay? And you choose the domain. You can have, hundreds, unlimited domains on your Power Lead system. Then you can literally just create a new email on that domain name. So I could create a username that's just like never pay for cable. How about break free from cable? That's longer than I would use, but you get the idea. So break free from cable, and then I could forward that to my Gmail address. Right? So when people reply to the emails that are being sent from GetResponse, they're replying to break free from cable at whatever your domain name is. Now you've got an email on your specific domain name that you own instead of just a freebie email. You see? And so this is going to get you a lot better delivery. So when I submit this, right, and now I have a new email address. So I can have, it looks like they're giving you up to 7 here inside Power Lead System. So I've got, 2 emails here in Power Lead System. So what I would do is I would take this email address, copy it, I would go over to GetResponse, and then I would add an email. Right? And I would, I'm going to use my name, but this is someone else's account, but this is how I would do it. And I would click Add Address. Okay, I'm not going to do that right now because this is not my account. But if I were to do that, what you would see then is I would then have 2 email addresses listed here. Okay. And probably is going to ask me which one is the default. See, this says default. I would make the one that's on my domain name, the one that I just created, my default. In other words, when mail is sent out to my subscribers from my GetResponse account, it's coming from not a Gmail, not a Yahoo. It's coming from one on my domain name. Okay, so that's probably the second thing that you want to do in GetResponse. Let me go back. If you click this, it takes you back to the dashboard. So we've covered the API key, and we've covered the email address so far. That's all we've done so far. Now, let's talk about campaigns. Campaigns is another word for email list. If you remember, I said you can have different lists. Right? So let's open up a Paint thing, and let me just illustrate a couple things. So let's say these boxes represent different email lists. Okay. And we'll make some other boxes that represent landing pages or lead capture pages. These boxes represent the pages with the email, name, email, phone, or just name and email, where people would enter their info so you can, capture their info. That's the whole point. It's a lead capture page. We capture their info so we can communicate with them. So this would be a lead capture page. This would be a lead capture page. This would be a lead capture page. And maybe this one over here, this one is when you manually add. I'll just put manual add. You can manually add a subscriber to a GetResponse list. Now these are different lists. You see? So list 1. So maybe this offer is a totally different offer. This one is like how to get your baby to stop crying in 15 seconds. Put your email in here, and on the next page there's some course about getting babies to stop crying, right? Well, this list and the emails that are on it, you see, day 1 email, day 2, day 3, day 4. These emails are all about whatever that topic is of this list. Maybe you have another list that's about IXQ. Maybe you have another list that's just a webinar invite. Maybe you have another list that's just people that you've actually had a phone conversation with. I'll call those warm. There's no limit on how many lists you can have. But in GetResponse, they call these different lists campaigns. Okay. So where we deal with those, where we create new ones, is in contacts here. It's a contact list. Now you can see there's one list here now. It's identified here. And this list is just default, just comes with the account. It's based on whatever the username was our teammate here came up with. And if I want to create a new list, I just simply create the new list button. Your list name, okay? So I would call this IXQTV leads. It has to be unique, so you're not going to be able to use that. But let's see if this one is available. Oh, it contains invalid characters, lowercase again. Okay, good. So IXQTV leads. Okay, create. So that's available. So now we have two lists. So between these two lists, if our buddy Gerald here is running traffic to this page to get leads so that he can share information about the IXQ business with them, guess which one would be the best list to use? Yeah, we would go with this one, right? Okay. So now that we have the list created, so we've done three things, right? We've got the API key, the email address, and we've created a new campaign, otherwise known as a contact list, an email list. Over here on the right, you see three little dots. You hover over those three little dots, you have a menu. And what we need to do is we need to go into settings here. Okay. And there's a few things here. One is the title. This is just so you know what list it is, but also if someone goes to unsubscribe by clicking the link in their email, or they just want to change their subscriber settings, this is going to be the title that they see. So I would make this something like World's Easiest Home-Based Business, or something like that. Okay. And then this would be the description that they would see. You are getting these emails because you subscribed via one of my online web forms for information on the world's easiest home-based business. Okay. And then you would put your name. Okay. Category, I don't know why this is relevant at all, to be honest with you. I don't see any other. It's not really internet marketing. I'm just going to leave that blank, okay? If you have a logo, you can choose that here. Okay, but I'm just going to save that. So that's the general portion of the list settings. Now let's look at subscription. Do you want to have GetResponse send you an email when a new person subscribes to your email list? If you do, leave this on. It tells you here. Okay. Do you want to require an additional confirmation or double opt-in so that they have to get an email that says, hey, are you sure you want to subscribe to this list? If so, click this link. Do you want that? If so, you got to turn these on. Well, we don't want that, so let's turn those off. Okay. Now, every once in a while, someone will subscribe to a page like this, and they'll have an email address that's like 2 letters. me@mydomain.com, or it's info@mydomain.com, or something like that. And when they do that, this is going to force a confirmation email on them regardless of these settings. In other words, it's not going to send them right to, it's not just going to subscribe them. It's going to force them to confirm. And so what you want to do is you want to use a custom URL, and you want to say, what page do I want them to go to when they click the link in the confirmation email? In other words, they get an email and it says, hey, we got your request, but you need to click the link below to verify that you actually made this request, right? It's an email verification. When they click that, where does it go? Well, what I would suggest is, let's go back to our Power Lead system here. If you're using our funnel, if I go to websites, my web pages, the page I would suggest is the IXQ 15-minute overview. Looks like this. Okay. Now maybe you've got your own page, or you've got a video on it, or whatever. But this is basically what I use. I use the same video that's on this page. In that case, you would take your link here. Okay. And then you would plug that in here. I didn't copy the link here. I would paste that link in there. And I would save. Well, I'm not going to do that right now because this page is my page. That's not our friends here. So right now I'm just going to leave it on the GetResponse default one, and I'm going to save it. And later, if Gerald wants to come back in here and change that, he can do that. Okay. So there's also a confirmation message here. All right. Now you see here where it has from address. Once you add your real email address that's on your domain, like I covered earlier, you'll be able to select, from the list of emails. And that's what you'd want to do. Select one that's not on Gmail, for example. But you can choose from a number of different ones here. It's not that significant. Okay. But what is significant is changing this email address. How do we do that? Well, we covered how to do that, right? Over here under Manage Account, email address. Remember, add email. Okay, so let's go back to the dashboard. So what have we done so far? So far we've looked at the API. We've looked at setting up a real email to use on your own domain name. And we've looked at how to create a new contact list, a new email list. So now what you need to understand is this list is going to have its own list of contacts. When they subscribe through that page, they're going to be added to this list. As a matter of fact, why don't we go ahead and test this? Let's try. Okay. So you can see how that flows right to that next page. Good. And let's refresh this. Okay. Okay, I was noticing that I did that test and it didn't add the subscriber, and this is actually good for me to show you, because if you recall, when we were in our page setup here, and by the way, guys, there'll be another whole video about how to specifically how to set up the sales funnel. Right now, I'm just trying to familiarize you with GetResponse. If you remember on that page, we had this list selected. Okay, and you'll see now that we've created a second list that there's two to choose from. So I'm going to choose the IXQ TV leads one, and I'm going to save that. Okay. All right, now that we've done that, I can view the page again. Okay. And so what happened is this list, if I go into the settings, what you'll see is on the subscription tab here, we have require additional confirmation. Those are turned on. So it never added my test email to the list. You see? This is just Gerald's. Okay. But now that we've updated our page here, we should be able to it's recognizing my IP address. I got to use a different browser to do this. Bear with me 1 second. Power Lead System has that to make it easier on the visitors if they've already opted in. And make sure I didn't have anything funky checked there. Okay, good. So this is oh, that's the wrong page. That's why. So this was like sample, something like that. Lead capture page. No. It's the copy. Sorry, guys. Test link. Okay. So here, good. So all that was just me getting a new browser. Testing, let's try. Okay, and this is optional anyway. Okay, so that's redirecting properly. Now, it may be a bit of a lag, but now, if I refresh this, I should see one subscriber added. And if I look at show contacts here, hold up. It's the wrong list. Okay. Here's the right one. So if I look at show contacts on the proper list, you'll see actually both of my tests. And what happened there is it did collect the lead the first time I did it, and you saw it say you've already subscribed to this list because Power Lead System is just looking at the IP address. But that's basically how that works. So now on this list we have two contacts. Okay. Now if we had a email marketing campaign set up, then both of these emails would have been sent the first follow-up message. You see how that works? And if we want to go in, if there's hundreds of these, we want to go in and just create one email. We can send one email and it will go to all these people on this list. Okay, so again, you can have as many of these lists as you want. Okay. So let's go back to the dashboard. We've covered the API key. We covered under Manage Account, we covered the settings for the email because we need to use an email in our own domain name. We went to contacts and we looked at how to create a list. We did that. We've looked at how to integrate that with the pages inside Power Lead System here via this little API setup, which is not going to take us back to again now, but it was in step 3 here. All right. And then we did a test to show you how the leads are added to these lists. And what else did we do? We did we did some list settings here to make sure that our these things are shut off, so it's not forcing confirmation. Okay, so what's that? 4 or 5 things we've done. Let's go back to the dashboard. Now, if we go into email marketing, see automation, you're not really going to need to worry about. Landing pages, you're not going to need to worry about. Webinars, you're not going to need to worry about. Forms and surveys, you're not going to need to worry about. CRM, you're not going to need to worry about right now. Right now, all we really have to worry about now that we've got this stuff set up is contacts and email marketing. So if I click into email marketing, I've got basically two things. I've got newsletters and I've got autoresponders. Newsletters, autoresponders. What's this? This is managed newsletters. What's a newsletter? A newsletter is when you write an email and you send it and you choose the list to send it to and it goes out. Like I can go, it's 10:47 p.m. I can create an email now, send it out, pick the list. So look, all lists. No, I only want to send it to the IXQ list. Apply. Okay. Create a newsletter. Autoresponders are set up on a schedule so that when someone subscribes to the list through a page like this, then they're automatically getting an email right away. And then the next day or 4 hours later, whatever you schedule it for, they're getting the second one. And the next day they're getting the third one. However many you have set up, those are automatic responses. You don't have to log in here and write that email. They're automatic. Now you have to set them up, okay? But you don't have to write it each time you send it. So what I do generally is on, like when I'm running traffic to a page like this, they'll get an email right away. They'll get one the next day. They'll get one the next day, and they'll do that for about 8 days, 5 to 8 days. Okay. After that, I'm sending a daily broadcast. And truth be told, usually I send my daily broadcast to anybody who's already received the third email of the series of 8. In other words, they subscribe here, they get an email. The next day they get another email. That's number 2. The next day they get another email. That's number 3. The next day, when I come in here and I write my newsletter for the day, I get in office, I write my newsletter, I send it out. It's not really a newsletter. I mean, in our case, it's a marketing email. I send that out. I'm going to send it to a segment of contacts who have already received the first 3. So the only people who will get that email are the people who've already received the first 3. People who haven't received the first 3, they're not going to get it. Okay? Now that has to do with email segmenting. And we're not going to get into that in this video. And the fact of the matter is GetResponse has tutorials on how to segment those. Okay? Maybe I'll come back later and do one on that. But for the moment, when it comes to creating a newsletter, you just click the blue button, newsletters, autoresponders, newsletters, autoresponders. Don't worry about this, don't worry about this, don't worry about this, don't worry about this. You're just looking right now at newsletters. If you want to send one email right now to the contacts of your choice, you would click Create Newsletter, okay? And you've got 2 options. Well, you're going to want to go with the drag and drop. Okay, now the list these are going to, you have to select that. Well, this would go to our IXQ TV leads. The message name is, this is just the name of the email for your purposes, so you can remember what it is. So they watch TV, you get paid, for example. Now, this is probably going to match the subject line. It's just up to you. This may be like, you may put the date there. It just depends how you want to organize this stuff. From. Now see here, from. This is important because earlier I explained to you that you need to add an email address on your own domain, and right here is where you would change that. And they give you the option to add a new one. But when they allow me to add a new one, what's going to happen is they're going to ask me to confirm it. So I don't have another email address for Gerald here, and we'll have to just get together and get some of this other data. So for the moment, I'm going to leave it here, but I would not use a Gmail, a Yahoo, a Hotmail, MSN, anything like that. Use one on your own domain. Then what do we do? Well, next step right here. And we've got all these choices. Oh my goodness, which one do I choose? You're like, Shazam, so many choices. Well, let's see here. I like this one here, start from scratch. Let's keep it simple. See right there, start from scratch. And then what do we have? We have a blank template here. Let's just use the blank template. Nothing in it. What do we do? Well, what do we want our email to be? Well, it's going to be text. No need to get all fancy about it. You just click this text box and drag it over. Okay. I can delete that. And this is sample email body text. You write your email here or copy and paste one here. How would you copy and paste one? Well, here's where within Power Lead System, if we go into our email campaign, view, edit campaigns, and we go to the campaign that I've given you for this, which is IXQ TV, here's the campaign. This would be like, something you could do. You could take them from here. Or if we go into Team TVisionary and we go to email swipes here, we've got some email swipes here. Look, here's they watch TV, you get paid. Let me make this bigger so you can see it. It's the wrong button. They watch TV, you get paid. So here's the email. So I can just take this whole thing and copy it. Where am I going to copy it to? I'm going to copy this to a text document or a notepad because I want to remove the formatting. So that's just plain text, okay? So I'm going to copy it again. If you paste with the formatting, it's going to paste the formatting in there. So I just paste it in. So the first thing is I'm going to highlight this whole thing. I'm going to get the bold off it because those first two lines were bold. And then you see here there's a size selector. So I'm going to make that 20. Okay, now you see here this is a different font than the rest of it because I pasted it in, and I might want to change the whole thing to Arial. So now you see that's changed the font. You see this editor here? It's called a WYSIWYG editor. What you see is what you get. Here's bold, here's italics, here's underline, here's left justify, center, right justify, here's bullet points, here's how you add a link. Okay. So anyway, I don't need these first two lines. That was just to show you how you would actually type the email, so I can just highlight and delete those. Okay. Now, let's say you said, well, I want to bold this. You just highlight it. Just click, drag your mouse, highlight it, and then click the B here. Okay. It says go here for basic info. Well, you would take your link. Let's say, where's my page here? Say, for example, I could just grab this link. It doesn't matter what link I'm using, just to show you how this works. Go here for basic info. You say, well, I want that to be bold, so I'll click the B. And then I want to add a link. You see this? This is the hyperlink button. Click that. And you paste your URL in here. Then click OK. Now we've got a link. Now I can remove this. This is just instruction. This one says, here's how we get paid. You see within the sales funnel, there's a compensation plan video, and that's here. So I take that link. This is how we get paid. So this is right in the first email. Highlight that, click the link button, paste it in, save. I want to bold that too. And again, I don't need the instructions here. Those instructions are for you. Okay, this would be your name, so I put my name. type your name in. And, whatever phone. That's not his phone number, but. And then add an earnings disclosure here. Now, I can't give you an earnings disclosure because that constitutes legal advice, and I'm not a licensed attorney, so I can't do that for you. But you can look up on your own, what's an earnings disclosure for MLM and get an idea. You can hire an attorney to write you one. It's not that significant. I write my own. You see them on my emails that go out. I just can't give you one. Okay, but that would be here. And usually I would make this maybe about 14 or 15. Okay, now the preview is here. This is what it's going to look like on a phone. This is what it's going to look like if you turn the phone sideways. You see? Now it's still showing me, all the edits haven't taken effect, right? Because we haven't saved the thing yet. If I go to the next step, now it says include recipients. Well, that's pretty small. I don't know if you can see that. Let's blow it up a little. These are the recipients. I want to get it. Okay. Now there are custom filters here, right? Well, we haven't set any of those up, and that's how you would segment these things. So you would set up a filter for only people who have received more than a certain number of emails. Let me explain what I mean here. Okay, say you've got a follow-up campaign, which we call autoresponders in GetResponse. Okay, and let's say that campaign consists of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 emails. Okay, so there's 6 emails. In other words, when they opt in, right away they're getting number 1. The next day they're getting number 2. The next day they're getting number 3. The next day they're getting number 4, and so on. So they get 6 emails. If I come in, if they're only on day 2, and I'm sending out an email broadcast on day 2, I don't want them to get that. I want them to get this cycle. I don't want to overwhelm them with email. I don't want them getting my daily broadcast until they're done with this. So at least down here at day 7. So what we can do is we can filter these so that we are excluding anybody who hasn't received number 6. Again, I'm not going to go into how to do that right now, and GetResponse can help you with that. If you're ever talking to GetResponse, I would avoid any mention of anything MLM related, Power Lead System related. They just don't like multi-level marketing for whatever reason. So just keep your questions functional. Okay. So I've selected this list, this campaign. This campaign has 2 contacts on it. What do I do now? Well, now I click Next Step. What are we doing? We're sending an email broadcast. This is the subject. This is the template. Okay. It's got kind of a high spam score. I probably would take a look at that and see what it says to see, like, why is it giving me kind of a high spam score? But usually anything under 5 is okay. And then I can either schedule it for later, or I can send it now. Well, if I send it now, what's going to happen is it's going to send it now. It'll go, within a few minutes. You see here, it'll be sent in 55 seconds. It gives you a chance. Oh, I hit the button accidentally. I can cancel it if I need to. Okay. And I'm opening my email here so we can see it come through when it comes through. So that's a newsletter. Okay. There are also autoresponders. So if I click on autoresponder, okay, it's really the same exact process. But these are just scheduled autoresponders. And we want this to be for IXQ TV leads. Create autoresponder. And this one we'll just call day 0. Okay. The list here, you choose the appropriate list. When to send it immediately. As soon as they subscribe, as soon as they fill out the form, it's going to go out immediately. We want this active all 7 days of the week. And we can save this, but we have to create a new email first, you see. Now this, if you had messages that you've already sent, you could choose from them here, but we're going to create a new one. And again, we'll just call this day 0, the subject line. They watch TV, you get paid, just a sample. Again, here we've been through this already. Use the email that you've added with your domain. Okay, but we're going to click next step. Okay. And by the way, here's what the confirmation email looks like. This is from earlier. It says, please confirm your subscription to. You see, because I had done the test before turning that off. It's taking a minute to load. Looks like that. So this is what happens if you don't have that off. And they have to do this before they get added to the list. Okay. Now, let's see here. Oh, I'm trying to remember what email address I even used to do that test subscribe. In any event, what are we looking at here? We're looking at the same thing, aren't we? Start from scratch. I gotta make this back normal size. We choose a blank template. There's no need to get complicated with it. Okay, I'm just gonna, leave it like that just for the sake of demo. Next step. Day 0. When does it go out? On day 0. If you want it to go out on day 1, you put 1. If you want it to go out on day 2, you put 2. We're going to leave it 0. Save and publish. Okay, now what do we see? We see day 0. Okay, if we wanted to create another one, we could even reuse this one. If we create another autoresponder, this would be go on day 1, you see? Day 1. Which list? Choose the list. What time? Well, same time of day they signed up. That makes sense, doesn't it? Create a new email. Okay. Now, I see here that just the email that I just tested has just come in. It's right here. See? And it did arrive to me, even though he's using a Gmail address. And this is the email I just walked you through how to create. You see? That was the broadcast we just sent, the newsletter. So this is the second autoresponder. We'll just, again, call this day 1 just to keep things simple. Again, we would choose the email that is appropriate here. Start from scratch, blank template. And again, I'm just going to, use that just for the sake of demo here. Next step down here. And this is going out on day 1. So if I save and publish this, here's what we have. This is the email that goes out on day 0. This is the email that goes out on day 1. You would repeat that process for however many days you want automated scheduled emails to go out. If you want to shut any of them off, you can do it here. Okay. Now, what would you put in these emails? Well, what I would suggest is that you go into your Power Lead system, view edit campaigns, select your IXQ campaign here in the little drop-down selector at the top. And then here, if you view these, you can literally just copy and paste these emails. And you'd have to make some edits, wouldn't you? And I would paste them into a notepad first. You're always going to want to make these unique. So if I open this back up, look, day 0, edit. Okay, edit message. Next step. Okay, now I can edit this. So what am I going to do? I'm just going to paste this whole thing in here like that. Now I don't like that font, so I'm going to change that to Arial. I don't like the size. I'm going to increase it to, oops, lost my highlight there. Increase it to 20. And what's this? This is not a GetResponse tag. That's a Power Lead System tag. GetResponse has tags. And let me see if I can remember. Yeah, there's a little personalized avatar here. If I click that, it'll say first name. Well, that'll put the subscriber's first name. You see? Change the font. You see, in this you can just type it in. And then, whatever your number is. And then what do we got here? Well, this is a link. This is a Power Lead System link. This big ugly code here. I don't want that there. I got to fix this stuff, you see? Now, guys, we're going to have a done-for-you service, right? It's basically $97 to set up the sales funnel connected to your GetResponse. If you want us to go through and set up all the emails for a short email follow-up campaign, that's time-consuming. So we're going to charge you $197 for that. If you don't want to pay that, it's fine with me. I'd rather you do it yourself so you can learn how to do it, but some of you just don't want to do that stuff. We can set all this up for you. It's either $97 for the sales funnel connected to your GetResponse or not connected to your GetResponse, or it's $197 including having all the emails copied over. But you got to look at these things. Make sure you finish the video I made for you here, for example. Well, again, I would take the link to whatever video it is that you're referring to, whatever page, and I would link this. Click the link, paste the URL in there. What's happening here? Okay. Probably would want to bold the link. And then, these are not even, like, some of these need edits. I just haven't had the time to come in here. It used to be a new media campaign. Okay. So all I'm showing you now is, like, how would you go about copying them over and tweaking them. Save and publish. Save and publish is different than save. Save will save a draft. So now this day 0 email, right? Want to preview it? I can click on preview and it'll show me what it looks like. This is the email that'll go out when someone subscribes newly to this list. You see? It tells you the list here. I know these are tiny. If I change it to the other list, there is no autoresponders because I didn't create any for this list. What they call campaigns. If I switch back to the IXQ campaign, I have 2 autoresponders, you see? So that's the difference between newsletters and autoresponders, and that's how you set them up. All right, now I've gone back to the dashboard on this so we can orient. If I click on contacts, you see up here it says custom filters. If you click that, nothing happens because you don't have any filters set up. It just sends you back to your contacts list. If you choose the contacts list and you highlight the little menu thing, there's show contacts. Okay. So we look at the contacts. Then we've got an advanced search. If we click on advanced search, and again, we choose the appropriate list, the appropriate campaign here. And these are for autoresponders. So there are those who are not receiving autoresponders, and there are those who are receiving autoresponders. And both of these should be receiving autoresponders because they're both brand new. But if I had, say, 3, 4, 5 autoresponder messages set up, and one of these leads had already gotten the 5th one, they would be no longer receiving autoresponders. You see? Well, it's telling us we can't find any contacts with that condition. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the dashboard. And we're going to go to the contacts list. And we're going to go to the advanced search. And we're going to go to show contacts. Well, that's because it's a brand new list and two new contacts. Okay. But we should still be able to save this as a custom filter. So not receiving autoresponders. Save. I was telling us we couldn't find any, obviously, but we should have a custom filter now. Not receiving autoresponders. I said I wasn't going to show you this earlier, but then I realized it's a lot simpler in GetResponse than it is in Aweber. So now, if we go back to our dashboard and we go to email marketing, we decide we want to create a new newsletter. And we're going to make a drag and drop. And just whatever, this doesn't matter. I'm just going to sample. We're going to send it to this list. And we would choose whatever email address is best there. And then start from scratch. Use our blank template. Okay. So this is what, the fourth time I've been through this now. Drag the text over. You just click and drag these things, guys. You want to put an image in here, you click and drag it. You click on it, it'll ask you to upload an image. Upload from your computer, upload from URL. Right? You click on it, upload from computer. Let's look at, maybe this is a webinar invite for Wednesday night, for example. I have a graphic for that. Waiting on the upload. Okay. Use image, and boom, there you got the image in your email. Okay. But anyway, next step. Now, choose list all recipients, and then exclude recipients. That doesn't work. Custom filters. Okay. Exclude not receiving autoresponders. So that doesn't make any sense, does it? Because I want to include those who are not receiving autoresponders, wouldn't I? In other words, the people who are receiving autoresponders should be excluded. So let's close that. Here, this is the include recipients. Choose custom filters. I want to include those who are not receiving autoresponders. You see? So then I click next step. And it's probably going to tell me, no, that didn't work that way, did it? So we need to exclude on this. I'm just looking at the numbers here. There's 2. There should be 0 if we're excluding. So what this is saying is we're going to include everyone on this list, and we're going to include the custom filter. But we need an exclusion. We need an exclusion for the people who are still in their follow-up cycle, who are still in their autoresponder cycle. So let's go back to the dashboard. Let's go back to contacts. Let's go to this list, show contacts. Okay. And we're going to do advanced search. Again, what are we doing? We're creating a custom filter. Receiving autoresponders. I'm going to save as a custom filter. Receiving autoresponders. Okay, so now we got two custom filters. Okay. Now let's go back to the dashboard, back to our email marketing, back to our newsletter, which I believe this is, no, that's the one we already sent. Okay. Create new newsletter, drag and drop, sample. Okay, start from scratch, blank template. And let's just drag a random text block over. We'll say our newsletter is done being composed. We're going to include IXQ TV leads, and we're going to exclude those who are receiving autoresponders. Now what happened? It changed to 0, didn't it? Now, this email is going to go to 0 people. Why? because we're sending it to this list, but we are excluding anybody who's still receiving autoresponders. This way we're not like sending too much email to one person. Now, as time goes on, you know, there'll be people on this list who've already finished that autoresponder cycle. So when we do this, you know, if this is unchecked, you know, this may say 1,000, and then when we check this may say 612, because it's excluding about 400 of them who are still receiving them. And we could go to next step. Nothing's going to happen because there's no contacts on this list. But that's how you would segment them so that you're only sending your daily newsletter to those people who have finished their autoresponder sequence. All right, and I think the last thing I want to show you here is how to add contacts to your list manually. Because when you're contacting warm market, if you're following, let's see, if you're following stage 1, for example, inside the team training, there's a point here where you qualify them, you've invited them. Yes, I'd like to look at the information. Well, what you want to do is you want to add them to your contact list so it sends them an email with the info. You want a specific list for that. That would be different than a list that you'd be running traffic through a lead capture page for, because they're warm contacts. You follow me? Like, you know, it's your cousin Dwayne. Hey, you want to look at it? Yeah, I'll look at it. Okay, great. I'll email you in just a minute. Don't just send him an email. Come here and put his info in your contact list. So you want a list specifically for that. Hey, here's the info. Just click this link. It'll open the video up for you. And I'll talk to you I'll talk to you soon. And just put your name. Right? It's informal. You see, so you need to be able to create lists, right? And, you know, if you're going to participate in a co-op or something and send people to a page like this, well, that's going to be a different list. It's a different message. The point is you want them added to your email list. Well, how do we do that? Well, if we go to we're on the dashboard here. If we click contacts, and here we've got add contacts. Which list do you want to add them to? Well, whatever list you have created for this purpose, you would choose it. Do you want to add them to the autoresponder cycle? Yes. Because that day 0 email is the email that's going out to that person with the info. You see, instead of just sending them an email through your mail client on your computer, you're just adding them here, and GetResponse will send the email. It's the same thing. It's just if you do it this way, it adds them to your contact list so that over time, your contact list grows and grows and grows and grows. So when you have a webinar and you send out an invite using a newsletter, like I just showed you, you send it to the list. That's 4 times a week. Boom, 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 boom. 4 webinar invites a week. Like, they'll just keep getting followed up with automatically. How do you want to add contacts? What message do you want them to get? I want to add them one by one. So here, right, I'll use like a random one of mine. Name, sample. Guys, don't put them in all caps because that's how it's going to go out. It's going to add that. Now here, I'm going to get rid of this because that's not there normally when you first do this. There's an assign custom field here. You want to add a phone field. Click that, scroll down, choose the phone, put their number in. Okay. I have permission to add this person to my list. That's always going to have to be checked. Add contact. Contact added. See here? So now this contact that I just added, if we go to contacts, now we've got 4 contacts on this list, don't we? Because I did it once. I did 2 tests. I did 1 test add contact manually with the recorder paused, and now I just did another one for you to see it. Okay. So this one that I just added, it tells you right here, the autoresponder day 0 was sent. Okay, added manually. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all of these because I don't need all these sitting on Gerald's account here. But that's how you do that. So now let's pretend that you're not using any of these sales funnels. You're not using this page. You're not using the sales funnel in Power Lead System or anywhere else. All you're doing is you're using GetResponse to automate your follow-up. Like we talk about in step 1. Like I talk about the red print here. This is probably the most important session. It's like I cover here. There's a number of different ones where I cover this, but I talk about the follow-up. But what are we doing? So I got a list of 100 or 200 people. I call, Uncle Dave. Hey, I want to ask you, when it comes to making money, you got your options open? Maybe. Okay. Well, if I showed you something that was simple and made sense to you and didn't get in the way of anything else you're doing, would you want to take a look at the info? You would? Okay. Well, if I put the info in front of you, can you take a look at it right now? You will? Good. Okay, I'm going to email it to you. Is that all right if I add you to the email list so you get the info? Good. Okay, I'll do that. So now the video is 15 minutes. I need to talk to you right after just to see if it's not for you at all or if it's something you just want to learn more about if you'd like to move forward. Just want to collect your decision. Either way is fine, but I just want to know what it is so I don't have to bug you about it ever again. Cool? So I call you back in 25 minutes. You going to answer the phone when I call? Great. So give me less than 60 seconds. I'll get an email to you, okay? Okay, good. So I go in here, okay, contacts. I go here, add contacts. Okay, I select my list one by one. Yes, I'm going to add them to the autoresponder because that's the email that's going out with the info. I'm going to add Uncle Dave at whatever he's at. Dave. What do you call him? Uncle Dave. Well, I call him Uncle Dave. Okay, good. That might not work because they may just send the first one. Put his phone number in here. Okay, have permission. I got permission. Then add the contact. Then on to the next person. Set a reminder to call him back in 25 minutes. You see? That's how I get the data to him. Now, on top of that, if you want, you can send him a text saying, hey, here's the link to the info. It doesn't matter. This is just to add him to the email list so that each day he's getting a follow-up reminder so that when we have webinars, he's getting the invites. And you don't know. Your Uncle Dave, it may take him 6 months before he even decides to attend a webinar. That's why we got to get him on here. Now, if you're using the sales funnel, you have a page that looks like this. So you can just come here and add them. Or you can send them here and have them add it themselves. If you're doing promotion on Facebook or whatever, and you're posting a link, it would be to something like this. If you're running co-ops, it would be to something like this. You can still go in to GetResponse and add them manually. Okay. But they do want to make sure you have permission. It's okay if you've talked to the person to be able to add them. So I was trying to think, is there anything else about GetResponse that you would need to know right now? And I really don't think that there is. There's some fancy things with automation where if you add a person to one list, it will automatically remove them from another. But unless you're adding 25 people a day who are joining the business. So maybe that's the last thing we'll talk about. When someone joins your business, here, let's get rid of this. When someone joins your business, let's say they've been on your marketing list. Okay, this is marketing list. In other words, this is a list of people who have not joined the business, who have not become customers. Like they were added or they filled out an opt-in form and they've been getting an email every day here. This is the video and this is the video again the next day. And then you send them a webinar invite the next day or two. And a webinar invite the next day. And then The next day you send them a video about the comp plan, and then next day you send them a webinar invite, right? Somewhere down the line here, this person decides, oh, I'm going to be a customer. I'm going to be a pro account, and I'm going to build the business. So then we might have 2 different email lists. We might have an email list for customers, and we might have an email list for pro accounts. You see? And when this person moves into being a customer, well, you want to add them to this list and remove them from this list because they don't need more marketing emails. They've already gotten in. If they're a customer now, what do they need to know? Hey, welcome to IXQ. So glad you decided to use our service. I know you're going to love it. Hey, here's a link back to the setup instructions page just in case you lost it. If you have any questions, let me know. And then maybe give them 3 or 4 days and say, this one goes out, this autoresponder goes out. You see, these are autoresponders. This autoresponder goes out 3, 4, 5 days later and says, hey, how you liking the service? Let me know if you have any trouble, please. Should be working fantastic for you. And then, 3, 4 days later, you send out a newsletter. What is it? It's a webinar invite. You see? Well, they moved from prospect to customer. Now, all of a sudden, they attended a webinar. Now they become a pro account. Well, if they're a pro account now, that's a different message, isn't it? So we got to add them to our pro accounts list. And that's going to have a different autoresponder. And this autoresponder, the first one, the first 2, 3, is going to be like, hey, here's how you get into the team training and resources. Just click this link, follow the instructions. Please let me know when you've done that. Day 2, same thing. Hey, making sure you got this. It's important. I need to make sure you get added to the team resources. Please do that and let me know when you're done. Okay. Then it's like, oh, hey, by the way, we have a webinar tomorrow night. This is day 3 maybe. We have a webinar tomorrow night. You want to get as many people to that as you can. Here's where remember, if you log into the team training site, the webinar schedule is there, right? You see each of these lists, let's say here's A, B, C. Each of these lists is different messaging for different purposes. So when I'm promoting, I'm putting people on this list, the marketing list. When they activate, I need them off of here. I need them on to the next one. And if they go from customer to pro account, you can put another one in here for trials. I personally manually handle the follow-up for my trials, but you don't have to. You could go like this. Or maybe they go right from here to a pro account. Or they go from here to a trial to a pro account. It doesn't matter. You just put them on whatever list is appropriate, and you need to make sure they're not on any other lists. So they're not getting 5 emails a day. Okay, so that's what, when it says here, let me close this out. When it says here, let's go back here. When it says here automation, that's the type of thing automation can do. So when you add them to the next list, because they've upgraded, it'll automatically remove them from the previous list. Well, like I said, that's really only useful if you're adding a tremendous number of people. Otherwise, you can just manually do it, right? So if you take an email address, there's no contacts in here, right? But you could just search. Like I could just search for my email. It says no results. I'd have to add an email to make that work. But if I take the person's email, because you get a notification, right? So you'll get a notification to your email box of your new member that'll have their email. You just copy and paste it, put it in here. What lists are they on? You see? Oh, he's on 4 lists. Okay, well, let's get him off all those lists, right? So I can't, there's nothing for me to delete here. Let me just add, just do something like this. Sample. Okay. Contact added. Now let's go back to contacts. Okay. So there's one contact on here. So if I search for that person's email, They're like, oh, I got a new pro account. Oh, what's their email? Copy, paste it in here. Find all the lists that they're on. Okay, go here, show contacts. You're like, well, I want to delete them from that list. Right? Delete from list. Yes, delete them. Okay, and then what am I going to do? I'm going to go to contacts, add contacts. I'm going to choose the appropriate list to add them to, and I'm going to add him. You see? Now he's getting the appropriate messages for what's right for him or her. So you have, in that case, you'd have it the most. I'd say you have, here, let's do this. You'd have list 1 would be just your straight up cold market list. You're running a co-op. Right? You don't know these leads. They're putting their name and phone and email into the lead capture page. That's your cold market list. You'd have a warm market list. These are people you talk to, people you know. You're just sending them the info that you already discussed. There'd be an autoresponder for each of those. Number of auto responses set up. You'd have a list maybe for people who have started a trial. You'd have a list for people who are customers. And you'd have another list for people who are pro accounts. That's probably about all that you would need. Oh, the 6th one, I guess, would be webinar registrations. Now, there's a whole video about how I do that, but basically, I have a page like this. So I'll send an email to all these people every time we have a webinar, inviting them to the webinar, and then I send them a page like this so they can reserve their seat. And when they do, it adds them to my webinar list. I don't do anything with the webinar list other than just send them links for the webinars on the day we have webinars. Hey, we have a webinar in an hour. Here's the link to attend. That's all that happens on that list. You see? So they're not getting duplication of the marketing emails. They're just getting the webinar invite, the webinar confirmation. So that's probably the most you would have would be 6 lists. Most of you, when you're first starting out, you're just going to have one. It's just going to be this. Okay. And then you're like, oh, I've been working for 5 days. I forgot we have webinars. Okay, well, let me create a list for webinars, and we'll do that. And then I'll invite these guys to the webinar through a page like this. And when they do that, it'll automatically add them to my webinar list. Now, you wouldn't need to have that remove them from this one because it's just the webinar invite. And then you're like, Shazam, I got a customer. All right, well, let me create a customer list now. So 6 is about the most that you would need. But you can have unlimited. You can have as many as you want. So hopefully that's helpful for you. I know some of you guys are a little more tech challenged than others, but that's really, out of all this stuff that's in here, that's really all you need to know about this. And now that you understand this, and that's the first place, because some of you will be using GetResponse, but not the sales funnel. But the next thing we need to do is look at setting up the sales funnel and how you do that. And it's actually fairly simple if you just follow the process. Okay, so we'll see you in the next video.